Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel Airbus What's It Doing Now. I wanted to share with you today an event which happened to us quite recently in the past couple of weeks concerning GPS jamming. We experienced GPS jamming on our departure out of Krakow quite recently. Now, I've covered GPS jamming and spoofing in one of the recent episodes, so if you haven't seen that already, I'll put it in the link above so you can see that, and we cover jamming and spoofing in quite some detail and some of the information that's available in the FCOM. And we also covered this in our recent simulator recurrent back in last winter. We looked at some of the cockpit warnings and flight deck warnings and that you might get that would lead you down the road of whether you had GPS jamming and spoofing. Now, I don't do an awful lot of long sectors, and a lot of the guys that do the Paphos and areas around there, they're much more prone to this and will have been used to this. But so I haven't actually seen it at all yet, so I'm sharing this with you as my own sort of personal experience of GPS jamming. So it actually was fine going into Krakow, and I've got a little map area here with a company overlay which is provided to us by our chart provider Lido. You may use similar, and it enables you to put overlays on there in terms of the company's AOC, restricted areas, or GPS jamming and spoofing areas. And you can see here, I'll just bring up the plate here for you. You can see Krakow is right on the edge, and your company might provide some information via company information on airports that have been prone to spoofing or jamming, and give you some direction on that. And you may well have some company material over and above what's provided in the FCOM. But everything was absolutely fine with us as we flew into Krakow. But actually, it was when we were about to depart that we had the problem. Now, the first warnings we had in the flight deck was ADS-B reporting one fault and ADS-B reporting two fault. And I'll bring up the status page here. This shows you it cancelled here at this point, so we weren't getting any further warnings. A look in the RadNav GPS page showed that we had no GPS data. They weren't receiving any satellites at all, and of course we lost GPS primary. So everything was sort of stacking up here as potential GPS jamming issue. The other thing that we noticed as well was when we looked at the progress page at our EPE, that interestingly, because the FMGS was taking data from the GPS, which was now no longer available, the EPE was now starting to wander, and it was wandering quite significantly, more so than you would expect if the GPS was actually deselected and that we were only receiving information from the IRSs. It was literally counting out 0.1 every second. So we went from sort of 0.18 up to about 0.5, 0.6 within just a matter of minutes. So it was clear that something needed to be done. Clearly something was happening here, and we had all the hallmarks here of GPS jamming. So like I said, your company might provide you some information on GPS jamming and spoofing, and will give you some hyperlinks into the FCOM. But I've put some information up here on the screen for you, so you'll be able to see where you can get that information from. Procedures, normal, supplementary, GPS interference, and there's a nice list of some of the warnings and cautions you might see in the cockpit and on the displays that might lead you towards jamming or spoofing. In our case, it was jamming, and the ADS-B was one of those, including GPS primary lost. The other problem we had, of course, now is that our departure, and I'll bring this up here for you. The departure was the OMFL 1 Juliet, which was an RNAV departure, require an RMP1 requirement from memory. I'll see if I can bring that up here for you. But critically, GNSS or GPS was required. So we couldn't fly this departure in our current state, only if it was to come back. But also we needed a reclearance as we were going to depart now without our GPS and then reselect the GPS once we left the sensitive area. So you'll see the FCOM here is quite clear in what you need to do. Performing a complete IRS alignment if the flight crew expects long segments in airspace with low radio nav aid coverage, or if you have erroneous GPS data observed or expected on the ground. So some information there about the various effects that you can get on for suspecting erroneous GPS data. There's a nice little hyperlink in there. The first thing we needed to do was deselect the GPS, and that was available in, I think, the RadNav page. Onto the next page, and then you position monitor, and then you can deselect the GPS data there. And then it goes on to selecting deselect on the ground during the takeoff roll to enable position update. Obviously, that happens when we advance the thrust levers, and then reselect it for takeoff. Now, interestingly, and this is the bit that I hadn't seen before, was for IRS alignment. Now, as I mentioned earlier on, we had a significant drift in the expected position area because we suspected that the IRSs were still trying to take their position from the GPS, which was now no longer available as we hadn't deselected it at the time. So the error was just constantly increasing. And so we now needed to turn off the MMRs with the 2 CBs whilst we performed the alignment and then pushed the MMRs back in. So as you can see here for IRS alignment based on GPS position, erroneous GPS data may result in incorrect alignment of the IRSs. So we were now doing a complete IRS alignment because we were obviously having these wandering position that the FMS was now calculating. So MMR1 pull, MMR2 pull, and then alignment procedure, align on ref prompt in the IRS initialization page. The only difference that we, the only thing we did differently was that we actually put, and you're not required to do this, the aerodrome reference point is fine, but you can actually change the GPS, the position, rather than the aerodrome reference point. You can actually use the gate position, and we chose to use the gate position just because, well, it was a bit of fun to do, I suppose, but we don't have cause to do it. But as it was available to us and we were doing a more accurate alignment, we felt that that we could do that. And in the AOI, it gave you the gate position, and then you simply select the up and down arrows, and then you can change up and down the decimal places in the field to change the lat and long. But again, you don't have to do that. You can just align on the aerodrome reference point. I think there is a hyperlink in here which also tells you how to go about doing the alignment if you need to, but you guys do that every day on the first flight, I should imagine. Once the IRSs are aligned then, and you press IRS initialization on the aerodrome reference point or on the lat and long that you selected from the gate position, then you push MMR1 in and MMR2 in, and that then repowers the GPS. But obviously you've deselected them in terms of position, so it's now not using that as data for position fixing. And sure enough, nav accuracy returns as high, even though you have GPS primary is lost, because of course we don't have the GPS available to us at this point. And of course, because of what had happened, we elected to leave the GPS deselected just in case it was to happen again. And then it was now just a case of managing our departure and making sure that we had the right departure for our way home back to London Gatwick. That was pretty straightforward. It was just a call to ATC to say that we were unable due to equipment, and we required a reclearance. There was no other one available for us actually, because I believe they were all GPS departures, and we were just given a straight out to 6,000 feet and then contact radar on departure, and they then cleared us to another waypoint. We reselected GPS, it came available, and we carried on our flight as normal. So just an experience, or just an insight into our experience on GPS jamming on the day. this sort of thing is developing all the time as we learn more and more about it. So the information is coming and is changing all the time. So I'd recommend, if you're not too busy, in your downtime, or you're on an airport standby or home standby or something, take a read of this documentation, because it's, as I say, it is changing all the time. There's more and more guidance coming out as we learn more and more about it, and to familiarise yourself with it, so that if it does happen to you, it's not so much of a surprise. One thing I will say, as I mentioned in the previous video when we looked at jamming and spoofing, is losing GPS is really not a big event. Remember, the IRSs are very capable of fixing your position, and in the days gone, we'd fly transatlantic flights with just the IRSs and nothing else. Before GPS really came about, was really understood, and they were only a few miles off, kind of thing. So it's obviously, as we get advanced more and more in the various approaches that are available to us now, RMP approaches and AR approaches, etc., GPS is becoming more widely used, because it is broadly very, very reliable, but it's not the end of the world if you don't have it. Okay, and departing and arrival into places with just your IRSs it's not. It's really not the end of the world. In fact, the FMS will discount a GPS before it will discount an IRS. And of course, as we said in the video, that has this bias, this known bias, and it will just keep recalculating that position based on the known bias until the GPS does come available again. Okay, so really not the end of the world, but it is a bit of a faff. Okay, and if you've not seen it before and you see these warnings come, you start thinking, then what are we going to do? But once you work through the FCOM, once you understand whether it's jamming or spoofing that you're getting, and you go down the right lines, the FCOM does need some interpreting, but as I say, it's pretty clear as long as you're on the right path, and gives you some guidance on what to do. And as I say, once you've done it all, it's pretty much a non-event, and you can safely depart. Just requires a little bit of re-clearance, and that's negotiating with ATC, and you can get on your way. Right, just a short video this, and I think it is actually only about 10 minutes long, which is a record for me. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hopefully it's useful for you. Put any comments in the comment section below if you've got anything to add, and if you've had any experiences and how you've dealt with it. It'd be really useful to know, as we're all learning from this all the time. Keep the plate spinning, stay safe, and I'll see you on another episode in the near future. Thanks very much, and bye for now.